Y'all, today's show is so good.
But number one, I've never seen an intro like that.
It is my hope and desire that not only will episode 30 still be fun, but episode 300 will be even more fun. You were made for something great, so go and be awesome.
Ten seconds remaining.
Hello, and welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, I'm so excited about today's show because it is brought to you by Executive Help Now. And at Executive Help Now, we are all about simplifying your business so you can focus on what really matters. From streamlining operations to managing tasks and producing podcast shows and keeping everything organized. We are here to help your team thrive. So if you are in need of some support, feel free to hit us up at www.executivehelpnow.org. Y'all, today's guest is simply brilliant, and I cannot wait to introduce you to her. Her name is Carly Pepin, and she is an international speaker and consultant specializing in leadership and business scaling through human behavior and strategic growth. She helps clients across all backgrounds overcome challenges rooted in perceived flaws by transforming limiting narratives into purpose-driven action. With a lifelong dedication to understanding human behavior, Carly blends deep insight with proven business systems to drive sustainable growth and alignment. Her approach empowers leaders to reconnect with their mission, build inspired teams, and scale values-aligned businesses. Through her work, individuals and organizations gain clarity, overcome internal resistance, and create lasting impact from the inside out. Y'all, put your hands together for Carly Pepin.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show. It is so great to have you. I know, Carly, there are so many people today who are just kind of stuck in their own way, right? I mean, they're just kind of like, know they have all of this potential inside them, but something keeps limiting them. Something keeps them from being their absolute best self. Would you say that that's a true statement?
Yeah, absolutely. We all have different internal struggles, different perceptions. Our mindset gets impacted by that. But the truth is that there's no difference between you or anyone else that you admire on this planet. The only difference maybe is that they have a bit of a different mindset or perceptions that is allowing them to get from where they were before to where they are today. We all have that inside of us. And so that's why whenever I work with individuals, business owners and stuff, it's like, we're not just focusing on the outside, which is great. We love to do strategy. We love to dive into the systems, but we also focus on the mindset and what's going on inside to make sure that they're doing what it takes, everything possible to watch their vision come to life.
Right. Absolutely. That's so good. And we need more people like you on the earth. So I'm so glad that you do what you do. So tell us how you got started. What took your journey this direction and led you to focus on leadership and human behavior in business?
Yeah. So definitely when I was a kid and I was going to school, so I was going to high school and all that fun stuff. I wasn't doing well in high school. When I graduated, one of my teachers was late because I couldn't pick my outfit. And I'm running in and he looks at me and he goes, D is for diploma. And I was like, your D is for something else, bro. But
I can only imagine with that.
yeah, you're rubbing in his face present day if I ever run into him. But basically, ironically, I wasn't just ditching school and not doing well in school. I was ditching and I was going to work. And so I just wasn't enjoying the dynamic of the education system because they weren't teaching me things that I love to learn about and things that I love to know. So I would go to work and they were teaching me how to run a business. They were teaching me how to manage a business. They were teaching me how to, lead employees. I was learning all the accounting, everything in it. And I was having a great time. So my parents were like, okay, this girl's not like, she's just not aligned with school. Maybe we help her start a business instead. And so my education fund, instead of going into a college, went actually into my first business. And it was really cool. It was really inspiring. Again, I learned a lot. Like I definitely from today, because that business didn't work out, like I got to see so many things, understand so many, mistakes I had made, things I didn't understand, but a huge component of it was also like the mindset dynamic. So then after working in various companies, which I just was in industries where you could work your way up from the bottom to the top. So that worked out really well. So I went in the fashion industry and I went in the creative industry, and they really, if you work hard, you can get up there even without the degree, which was awesome. And in those dynamics, I was really understanding and learning how to grow these businesses. I was studying more, I was implementing things more. And at a certain point, I was like, it's time to try this again on your own. Like, this is the time. And so when I got to apply all the things that I had learned, not just from the practical application of helping other people build their businesses, the companies that I worked for, it was now time to also apply the personal development stuff. And that was also a really big game changer, as I realized that one without the other just wasn't working to the same degree as when I put them together. It was quite powerful. And so when I started working with other individuals, I started to make sure that we were applying both principles as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that is so fantastic. And what caught me, your story is so relatable. I mean, how many teenagers aren't really feeling school, right? But I mean, I'm all for education. Don't get me wrong. If any young people are listening out there, no, definitely for education. But it's so great that your parents were there to support you in your entrepreneurial spirit that you had, where you're like, look, this isn't my gift right here, but over here where I'm learning things that are very cool and very applicable and something I can actually use to live a great life later, then why wouldn't I spend my time doing this fun thing as opposed to going to school and getting this education? So I totally get that. And thankfully now you can finish school on online and still get that super important education. But I want to know, Carly, a little bit more about that first business, the one your parents helped you with.
Yeah.
What was that business, and what did you learn from all of the things that you went through running that business?
Yeah, so that one was a skincare company. So we actually did homemade, handmade kind of skincare, and everything was very natural. So it was like kind of natural dynamics, which funny enough is way more popular present day. Like the stuff we used to make is now more mainstream. But what we didn't understand was branding and marketing. I would say that was a huge dynamic of like what we hadn't fully understood. So we didn't understand about doing the market research and kind of understanding what was out there, who we're competing with, because we were competing with these really big brands that were kind of pumping out just whatever products, and they were just okay, but they looked great on shelves. And that's what we would get the feedback from when we talked to some of these bigger retailers like Burke Williams and stuff. They were like, we love your products. Like they were amazing. They're like, but when you change your packaging, like reach out to us. Like we have to have something different. And I was like, wow, it's a big aha moment. But for us to do that at our scale, like we just weren't going to get there, So it was really interesting. And again, I guess this is all before like angel investors and all this. Everything's different nowadays.
Right.
It worked out for the best. It totally worked out for the best, but it was really fun. And then we also had the opportunity to have a retail store. So we had a retail storefront in Santa Monica on like a really popular street. It was really fun. So we had the opportunity to do that as well. So there was like a lot of really great business opportunities, understanding about business. It was interesting because I also see that back then, it's like, understanding the internal component too, is we also didn't really have a vision for the company. Like we didn't know where we wanted to go long term. We didn't have anything else outside of like, let's do really well financially with this. And we didn't really have like that long term vision. And without that long term vision, you kind of just keep working in the sense of trying to like make cash, which is great, but also not what makes you want to wake up every day and get to work. And so at a certain point, we all got burnt out. Like we all got burnt out trying to figure out what to do and like how to do it. And that was the reality. And so that's again, another reason why that internal part is so important, because when you connect to that deeper why, when you understand the greater vision, the mission of what you're doing, you don't get burnt out. You can actually work harder. I had a really fun client and she was doing really well and she was making hundreds of thousands of dollars like a month, and she was going to sell her business because she was burnt out. And I was like, okay, let's check into this. I was like, what's actually going on? What's burning you out? So when we shifted her perspective and she got to see her vision and what was important to her, we got to delegate some things and take things off the plate. And she had that deeper connection. It's funny because like after 4 sessions, she came back and she said, I'm working more, but I'm feeling more energized. And she's like, what did you do? And I was like, I didn't do anything. I was like, we just shifted your perception. You showed up, you did the work, you put things in action. I was like, good for you. And that's that dynamic. It's like, we want to make sure that we're focusing not just on the inside, but also the outside. So we have the strategies, the systems in place to be able to grow, but we have the vision so we know where we're going and we stay connected to that.
Yeah. I think that is so important. And congratulations to you and to her for doing the work. And, success stories like that, because first of all, the importance of vision could not be understated or overstated enough. I mean, it's so important is basically what I'm trying to say. These double negatives get me. But it is so important to have a vision, because when you have that vision, it helps you make decisions that are either in alignment with it and where you say yes, or that are not in alignment with it and you say no quickly. Because this is not in alignment with what I'm seeing for our future. And so it's so easier to take more control of the time that you have available by having a very clear vision of what you want for your future, for your life, your family, your community, your business, all of the things. And so I really love that you were able to help her make that shift and understand the importance of having it, because then when you have, like you said, your focus on that vision, it's exciting. It is truly fun. It's like your business takes on a whole new life because now you know where you're going, right?
Yeah, it's actually really beautiful. And I can even use the example of when I had my first business as a great example. Because we didn't have a vision, we just took the opportunities as they came, right? So if we had had the vision and we were clear, like, hey, we want to be this wholesale company, we want to be in all the stores and the big retail stores, or do we want to be a retail? And do we want to be like, I think it's like Bath Body Works or something else. I can't remember the other ones. It was like, we didn't know where to go. And so we opened the store just because it was a great opportunity, but not because it was a great opportunity for our vision. And so we made the assumption of to go that way. We could have used the money to rebrand and remarket. Like you could have gone either way. And it's like, it's in the long run, it's perfect. I love what I do now. So I'm glad it didn't work out. But you look at that and it's like, if you have the vision, you have a clear yes and a clear no, and you don't just take the opportunities that might actually lead you astray from having the success,
Right.
like having actual success. So it's genuinely incredibly important, makes it very easy to say yes, very easy to say no, and very easy to know where you're going.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. I mean, I think most business owners who have put that in place are living witnesses.
Yes.
The trueness of that statement. So, Carly, what does aligned success mean to you personally?
Yeah, so when we think about aligned success, that is, you can go out and you can be successful. And how many people have you met who are successful who are still struggling internally, where they feel distressed, they feel burnt out, like they feel like they're having a hard time in their day to day, right? It's a lot more people than you think. And then you meet them and you're like, wow, the grass really isn't greener on the other side. So you really don't just want success, because when you get the success, it doesn't really mean anything if it doesn't have meaning to you. Right. And so this is that dynamic again of where we're getting burnt out. It's like, what is actually important to you? What do you love? What makes you feel energized? What makes you feel fulfilled? And how do we incorporate that into your current business? Here's the cool thing, like, especially with business owners and entrepreneurs, you sometimes will start a business to just make money, unless your highest value and your reason for living, which some people have it, is actually creating like and amassing great wealth. You're not going to make money just off of wanting to make money. When I say that you could do that and people have it, it does happen, but it's not everyone. And it's a very small percentage of the planet. In reality, we all have different life purposes and things that are important to us. And for the most part, oftentimes it's like, well, why are you actually making the money? Sometimes it's for your family. Sometimes it's because they actually value health, right? We want to find out what you really value. And then we also want to understand is like the business you built, there's a reason for it. Like it's not just there and it's not random. I was working with this client, and he tried to retire and he did not do well. Like he just did not. And he really struggled. And so when he got to me, he had been forced back into his business. But when we got to see what happened and what he was getting to do when he got forced back into his business, we actually got the real mission and the vision behind the company. So the company is in a third world country, and he wanted to bring first world lifestyle to employees who live in a third world country. And it's like, okay, so what did you do when you retired? And he's like, nothing. He's like, I
Oh,
just feel like I didn't have anything to do and I was bored. And it's like, can you see that that's where you get out, because you're not connected to the mission and the vision. And ironically, it's like I just talked to him, and it's been like a couple years since he's understood this and implemented it. And now it's like the next time he's gonna sell the business, but the next thing we're gonna work on, he's like, I don't want to retire again. He's like,
right,
all this stuff is too meaningful to me. And he said, I just don't want to retire because I feel like I fall apart and I die when I retire. He's like, I want to carry this on and see
right.
what I can do next. And I was like, that's awesome. And so that's aligned success, is that you're not just successful, but you're fulfilled and inspired by what you do. So at the end of the day, you feel great inside yourself. You want to wake up and you want to go to work every day. You don't actually feel the need to retire and walk away and not do anything. You're like, I still would love to make an impact, and I feel energized by the opportunity to do it. Because we could do that till the day we die. I think when people stop being of service, like you just feel like crap. But when we can help and serve people, like it's really fulfilling. It really fuels the fire within.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I love how you put that, we can make all the money in the world and still feel unfulfilled, still feel a hole in our soul. If we're not adding value to somebody's life, if we're not living out our purpose that we are put here on this earth for. I often say that we all have our own unique gifts, skills, and talents and abilities, and nobody has what we have the way we have it. So they can't deliver it the way that we can deliver it. They can't, execute on it the way we can execute on it, because it's our gift. And so, and if we don't share that gift with the world, it's like we're robbing them of the joy that they could have were we actually doing what we were supposed to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's beautiful because you're right. It's like we all have this unique thing inside of us. We all have this unique vision. We all have something that's important to us. And ironically, when we're not connected to it, or we think it should be something else, like we feel sad, we feel depressed, we feel miserable. And so it's also giving ourselves permission to really get to know who that is. And then, I mean, this is why I love business, just because We understand the vision, and then we get to put on all the strategies and structures to make sure that it's stable and it's growing and it's also profitable. Super important. But then you get to feel and experience like your actual vision coming alive. And that changes the game. Like when you have a taste of that and a hit of that changes the game genuinely.
Absolutely. And Lucille, it's resonating with her too. Welcome to the show, Lucille. She says that when burnout hits, remember why you started. Remember, what great advice. Because yes, it is so important for you to, once you remember, then that excitement tends to come back, and then you start to realign yourself with why you are successful or why you started this business in the first place. So great point, Lucille. Thank you for sharing that. And then Nia Robinson also chimed in, agree 100%. And vision doesn't have to be perfect, just clear enough to remind you what you're doing this for. Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes we get started, we just kind of have this idea. We haven't dotted all the I's or crossed every T, but we know we're supposed to be doing this thing. And sometimes there's this book out called, I think it's called Start Ugly. And even if you have to start ugly, just start, because you know that is going to make a difference in somebody else's life. So I love that, Nia. Thank you so much for reminding us that our vision doesn't have to be 100% perfect. It can be constantly evolving or evolving on some level. But once you kind of know where it is that you want to go, you just kind of head that direction, and everything else just kind of falls into place, along the way. And you just have to be courageous enough to kind of take those steps of faith and leaps of faith to know that you're doing the right thing. And I'm a woman of faith, y'all know that, and I pray a lot about everything. And so I'm just like, Lord, just lead me, lead my steps, guide me, direct me, help me be wise in the decisions that and that they are in alignment with what you want from my life. And so that really is amazing, that we're all in such agreement with the importance of vision and knowing that just remain true to ourselves and our calling. We need to be obedient to that. And Morning Collectible says, yes, it hits different when you use your gift to bless others. Ooh, amen to that. Absolutely. Any thoughts, Carly?
Yeah, I think one thing that is really pertinent for people to remember, it's it's like I think it was Leah was saying, where the dynamic of being able to not have the perfect vision, because you won't ever get the next step to your vision until you keep working towards it. So Nia, there it is. So basically, if you begin on what you know will grow. But the only way for it to grow is not for you to sit there and think about it. It's actually for you to take action on it. And once you start to take action, you're going to realize, whoa, like I was a little bit off here. And this actually isn't the best way for me to go. But as I go through this, I realize this way is better, and this is perfect. And it's still going to get me to that end goal. And so it'll keep growing and expanding, and you'll keep getting to see it as you get closer and closer to these different dynamics, only by experiencing it. If you had access to the full capacity of everything that you would love to achieve on this planet today, you'd be overwhelmed. You'd actually be overwhelmed, and you could potentially even be paralyzed, because I'm sure there's certain individuals, it's like when they first started, like Jeff Bezos, he loves the idea of space and he's always wanted to go to space. But he didn't think, I bet when he was a kid, he didn't think, well, maybe I'll be the person to build commercial spacecraft and let people fly on it like airplanes. That's probably not what came to him as a kid. It probably came after the succession of him investing his time and energy in things that are important. And then eventually it clicked. I can do this. I could try it. I want to go to space. How do I go to space? Oh, I could do this. Let's make commercial opportunities to make this happen. And so it's like, yeah, if that person as a kid tried to do that, it would be quite overwhelming. And he might have actually gone to like, school for some sort of tech or whatever to be an astronaut, and then we wouldn't even have like Amazon. So just let it grow. Basically, he's on the perfect path, and it gave him exactly what he needed to actually have the vision that he has today. But like, it came from actually going in and focusing on the little bits and pieces that you have now, and that one's really important.
I love the way you put that. Focus on the little bits and pieces that you have right now, and it will grow. And don't try to rush it. That's the other thing too. And James says, God first. Yes, absolutely, James. God first, always. And Nia says she loves start ugly. Sometimes you just need someone to say, just go already. Just go. Do something. Take action. It is so important. And I love the way you said, Carly, that if we got everything we dreamed of right this second, we ain't ready.
No.
We have to go through some other things first so that we can get ready for all of those big dreams that we really have, so that we can manage them well, so we know how to handle disappointment, so we know how to handle success, so we know how to manage everything in between. It's all comes about in its right time. And when you allow it all to just come together slowly but surely, methodically, even prayerfully, it all works out the way that it's supposed to. I'm a firm believer of that. Everything works out the way that it's supposed to. And if you're supposed to have a particular client, then they're going to be your client. If you're not supposed to have that particular client, they're not going to be your client. If you're supposed to be teaching this or not retiring or doing something else, all of these things work out the way that they're supposed to. And it's all a part of each of our individual journey. And I love that you are there to kind of help people know and understand what that looks like. And that's kind of a great segue into this next question that I have for you about scaling with alignment. Alignment is so important. And I think we're kind of equating vision and alignment with what we are put on this earth for and what gives us joy and energy. So, Carly, what is the first step that someone should take to scale their business without burnout?
Yeah, so the first step is definitely understanding all the things that you're doing. Because if you're asking that question, you're probably already burnt out. So I have people write down all the things and all the jobs that they are doing in a company, right? So a really interesting example is I had a CEO, and he started to talk to him about like all the challenges he's going through. And I find out that he's acting as HR manager, right? So he's got like 200 people in his company, and somehow he's acting as HR manager. And I was like, do you have an HR manager there? And he's like, yeah, I have a whole HR team. And I was like, well, why are you doing this? And so sometimes it's just that we think that we need to, or we have to. He had just been friends with the employee for quite some time, so he felt like a responsibility. So we did some personal development work to free him from that job. And once he freed himself from that job, he started to get energized again, right? So part of it is when we look at executives, when we look at leadership teams, when we look at all these individuals at the top, right? We are actually going to see that a lot of them are doing things that they're not meant to do. You actually haven't delegated accurately. And the reality is part of your job is making sure that not only you're delegating, but we have the systems and the structures in place to keep track of it. And everyone usually has a little bit of a different way of putting things into place. Like I'll come in, we'll have tools, and we'll have like dynamics, and we go through all these questions to understand who is meant to be in charge of what. Like, where is this right person going to actually be in the right seat, right? What are they best at? And how do we make sure that they're also, how do we make sure we're monitoring them? And that's usually, I have some suggestions, and then we kind of troubleshoot until they find the perfect way also for their culture and company, because that's really important too. Every company is like a human being, and it has different, it's got like a different energy. It's got a different vibe. It has a different way of doing things. And so we don't want to come in and storm it so much that we're like changing everything to something they don't like. It's like, here's what works. And then how do we actually implement it into your culture, right? So
Right.
that one's a really important dynamic. And so, yeah, when you start to get burnt out, what's interesting is we use this as feedback. We use it as feedback to you've started to involve yourself in the day to day of things that don't inspire you. You're not delegating accurately. And if you did delegate and you're actually having to follow up and still do it yourself, that means that their employees aren't held accountable to actually get it done. So you don't have the systems and strategies in place to ensure that they're doing their job and they're getting it done. And so, yeah, we dive in, we do some personal development dynamic, and then we restructure things to make sure that people are being held accountable to do what they love and love what they do. And the interesting thing is this happens every time, especially when I start with someone fresh. People are going to quit 100%. And ironically, like after they quit, I'll start to get the feedback, oh, those are the people that haven't been performing as well. And we actually kind of consider potentially firing them in the future if they don't shift. And that's because they don't want to be held accountable. So the second you put something in place to hold them accountable, they just quit faster, which ironically will save you money in the long run.
Exactly. I mean, I've been told
For
to
sure.
you need to hire slow and fire fast. That's
Yeah.
the way that it is. I mean, if you do it any differently, then you're punishing everybody. So,
Yeah, and it's really taking a look at that, like, dynamic. If an individual doesn't fit with your culture and they're also not doing their job, they're pretty low grade because it's really hard to change a human to fit into a culture, and that's an unrealistic expectation. They just don't align with it. They're different people, right? And then
yeah.
also if they're doing a bad job, it's like, well, even if I train you up, you still don't fit in with the culture and you're fighting with people all the time and people are complaining about you. And it's true. It's like you can hold on to that person or you could just let them go and let them go find a job somewhere that they would be inspired to work, because it's obviously not there.
Right, exactly. I mean, they may
Yeah.
not have the skill to do what it is that they were hired to do. I mean, there's so many people nowadays who get jobs based on resumes that are AI generated that make
Yeah.
them sound so
True.
amazing. Like they can do all these wonderful things, but you actually put them behind the wheel of the car and they're wrecking at every turn. Like, oh no, So and I love how you said that every culture is different and that every company has its own vibe, its own way of doing things. And if someone isn't a good fit, then it does not take long for that one bad apple to spoil everything you worked so hard to build. So it's so important to identify that person, hold them accountable to what they said they could do. And if you identify that they can't do it, find another place for them, whether it's within the company or allow them the freedom to go live their best selves somewhere else.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
important. Yeah. And Ariel has a question. She says, how do you know when you're burnt out versus just tired?
Yeah, so that'll just be the internal dialogue. So if I'm tired, I'll be tired, but I'll still wake up and get things done and like tasks done, and I'll just be really tired. Today, technically, I'm really tired. I had such a funky sleep last night. So it's like a perfect example. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm very tired. I still went to the gym. I just didn't do like as much. I'm on the podcast. I feel really energized right now. You can tell because I love what I'm doing here. So I'm not burnt out by this. So more so if let's say I was on a podcast and I'm actually feeling burnt out, you would see me very lethargic right now. You would see me very tired. You wouldn't see me energized. You wouldn't see me inspired. And I would think I have to get on the podcast today. Oh, I'm so tired and I have to get on the podcast. And I was like, no, I'm really tired, but I get to have a podcast today. And it's all the things that I think I get to do, I want to do, even though I'm tired, because those things bring me energy. If you're doing things and you're feeling tired, but then you wake up and you're like, I have to do this, I need to do this, those things are technically burning you out, right?
Yeah.
Those are technically burning you out. And that's where it's like delegation comes in. So if you're a business owner or you're an executive, you want to figure out who you can delegate those things to, right? And if you're an executive and you don't own the company, you also bring this to the owner's attention where it's like, these things are really burning me out. I'd love to delegate and put more time and focus here because it's actually what I'm great at. I'm actually not even that good at this. And they'll appreciate that and be like, I think we're wasting money having me do this. It takes me longer, it's slower, and I'm probably not doing as good of a job because it burns me out. But this stuff right here, this is where I'm shining and I'd love to do more of this. Can I start to delegate? And they'll be much more receptive than you think, right? Much more receptive because you're
Yeah.
actually telling them Like, I have a gap and I want to do better. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's like, okay, well, who does this out in the world? Who can I contract or hire out? It's like, who's the person? Because there are things that I just do not want to do in my business. And I've said it. I was like, if I'm responsible for this, it's not going to happen because it burns me out. I won't do it. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I love how you just break it down. It's like, look, and I love the idea of taking it to your boss or finding out who in the world can help you. Because it is so important. If you are doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, of course you're going to get burned out because it's not your zone of genius. You are hating every second of this activity when in actuality, there are people out there who love to do that thing. Like, why put yourself through that? You don't
Yeah.
have to. And it's a wise boss who listens to their employees when they come to
Yeah.
them and they say, look, you assign me this, I'm doing it. I don't love it. Can we delegate this to somebody else? And the wise boss will definitely appreciate that and find someone else who is good at that because he doesn't want to waste money having you take forever to do something that you hate to do when he could hire someone else who loves to do it and can do it in 10 seconds. That's, it would be fiscally irresponsible for him or her to have you keep doing that thing.
Absolutely. And I think too, because it's like you said, it's probably gonna be rare that they're not gonna listen because you literally are telling them like you're wasting money here on me.
Yeah.
Give me something else, and here's what I think, and here's what I love, and this
Yeah.
person loves this, right? So it's rare. But also if you get that, because I've had a client who's gotten that, she just left and she got a new job. She actually found a recruiter and they found her something else where she got to do what she loved. And it was pretty interesting because you have this woman who is genuinely like an A player when it comes to like working in a company, and she'll go hard and she wants to build your company and she gets aligned with the mission and the vision and the goal. And if you don't let her do what she's best at, she really struggles. And so it was interesting when she brought it up to that individual, she wound up leaving and now she's doing really well for another company, like really well. So if you don't get the answer you want, just remember too, like there's also a company out there that matches your culture that you could go dive in and really create the opportunities that you want to create.
Right, exactly. A company out there that matches your values too. The things that are important to you. They have a gap that only you can fill. And so I love that. And also one of the things as I think about Ariel's question about how to know when you're burned out versus just tired. And I love how you responded, it's a body check. You need to really listen to your body. And when the idea of doing the things starts to immediately have a visceral response in your body and it's like, oh gosh, I have to do this again. Something needs to change.
That's burnout.
That's burnout. I can relate to that so well. I used to volunteer with this organization and I was in charge of, being the leader and that sort of thing. And at first, I loved it. I looked forward to it. I loved the people and I still love the people. But as time went on and year after year after year of continuing to do it, and then other, life happening and other things happening, it was too much. It got to be too much. And when someone else expressed interest in being a part of our group, my body instantly said, oh, not somebody else. And that's when I knew something had to change immediately, because that was the absolute worst attitude to have for having that kind of response to someone who needs to be a part of this group. And at first, when there was all this joy, and then when I found myself in this place where there was no joy, and the idea of having to deal with it made me sad or angry or irritated, that's burnout. That is burnout. That's not just tired. And so I immediately spoke to the leaders and mentioned to them my situation, and we definitely made a change. And as much as I loved still the people that were a part of our group, I just couldn't do it all myself. And I knew that. My body told me that I couldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really fascinating. And the other great thing to catch is really listen to your language, right? Because
Mhm.
we'll subordinate to outside perceptions and say we should do something, we need to do something, we have to, we're supposed to, we got to, we ought to, right? And
Mhm.
those actually aren't things that are truly aligned with us. If something was really aligned with you, you'd be like, I love to, I want to, I choose to, I desire to, right?
Yeah.
And so when when you pay attention to that language, because we should ourselves all the time. And it's like, I should do this and I should do that. And I'll check in and I'll be like, should according to who, Carly? Right?
Mhm.
So that's the greatest question you can ask is according to who? Because in those moments, you've taken their perceptions and you put them over your own intuition, over your own soul's guidance, advice, right? And that's your intuition, your insights. And so it's a great question. It's like, according to who? And then I'll sit there and be like, what do I really want to do? And sometimes it's only like a piece of it, right? It might just be a piece of it or a fraction of it. And again, this is why delegation is really important. It's
Right.
really learning how to delegate, because in the beginning, you might not be able to delegate that day, but it's being like, okay, this is really important for me to delegate. If I don't do this for the business, like there's going to be an issue. So I'm in charge of it until I find someone better. And you'll be highly motivated to find someone better way faster. Yeah, again, hiring's the slow process where you really check in and make sure that they're the right fit. But simultaneously, you'll hop on that action step a lot faster if you have to do something that you don't want to be doing that is genuinely burning you out. You're like, okay, let me hop on this and let me really find the right fit. Yeah, so
Yeah.
really check in with that language, because that's going to be important for you to connect with who you are, your own soul. And again, this is not just you aligning yourself with like what you love, but it's also aligning how you fit in the business, right? How
Mhm.
you fit perfectly into that mold. And then you're inspired by what you do and you do what you love. And the cool thing is then every day you get to wake up and say, like, I get to go to work. I get to do my job. I get to do this. And I genuinely like, I know I want that for everyone, because it's like, it feels so good. Once you have it, you're like, I don't ever want to get rid of this. And it's like, I just want everyone to like know the possibility of just waking up every day and being like, I get to do all the things that are on my schedule today. I want to, not like I have to, I need to, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do this, right? Like you see, it's amazing. You'll see your whole physiology change and you sink and you get dull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And the get to sometimes is so exciting all day long that it's hard to shut it off. Even at night, it's like, you're supposed to be going to bed. But it's
Yeah.
like, oh wait, I get to do this. But wait, I get to do that. you know.
It's true.
And Tiana says, thanks for joining the show, Tiana. Tired can usually be fixed with rest. Burnout sticks around even after resting and sleeping. 100% listen to your body, y'all. Listen. Your body is a tell.
100%.
That's right. So further to this, so we can recognize now burnout versus tired and that sort of thing. How do we know for sure? How can every leader know if they're growing in the right direction?
Yeah, so you're going to get feedback all the time. It's unrealistic to think that you're never going to go through challenges. You're going to be going through challenges left and right, but those challenges are giving you feedback on whether or not this is the next step and the next stage to go, right?
Right.
Like there have been times when, like I've seen there's one client I'm thinking about, like hitting their head against a wall. Like he's just trying to build his business. And it's like, okay, none of this is working. So let's find out like where it's coming from. And we're going through the things in business and stuff, and we're cleaning up his business, but things still weren't working. And it wound up like at the core, there was a dynamic of just him being off track on the vision. So he thought he had a business partner. He thought he should or have to like do these things the way that the business partner wanted to, because he was actually afraid that he didn't want to get in arguments and fights. And he was just like fearing that dynamic. Right. And so when we kind of went in, it's like, okay, cool. You're actually off track. You not sharing with this individual what's going on and what you're seeing and what the next steps are means you guys are just hitting your head against the wall and you're not actually sharing these insights that you're getting, right? So often we'll see, like, when we're going sometimes in the wrong direction, we're hitting our heads against the wall so hard, and we're not able to get to that other side because we're not meant to have things work to that degree when we're not destined to do those things. Like, it just doesn't work. And then you go crazy and you're frustrated with yourself and you're like depressed because you're comparing all of your results to someone else's you're trying to duplicate. And you're like, why isn't it working? It worked for them. They have all this. And it's like, because that wasn't your path.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. What's for
Yeah.
them is for them, and what's for you is for you. And if you're trying to fit a square peg into a circle, you are going to always be frustrated. And you're
Yeah.
going to always, be hitting your head up against the wall. And because when you're going in the right direction, things kind of just fall into place. I know you have to do some research. You have to make sure that what you're looking at is in alignment with your vision, and make sure that it's not taking you away from that ultimate goal that truly is your purpose for being here and the gift that you are supposed to share with the world. And so if something else is coming in, some people call it shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
Where they may actually, have these people speak into them, oh, you should do this or you should do that, but it isn't something that is in alignment with their values or in alignment with their purpose or their vision, then it's just a distraction. It's truly a distraction. And so we don't want that to be your situation. We want you to look forward to every single day and what you get to do. We don't want you to be confused. There's no confusion in what it is that you're supposed to be doing because you've laid out the plan, you've mapped it out. And if someone is presenting something to you or you're trying to go down a path that isn't in agreement with where you're supposed to be, you're going to always have confusion. And that's not what life is about. It's not wise in running a business. It's not how you run a business. It's not in confusion, because if you are operating in confusion, your team is confused, you're confused. It's a horrible situation.
It's really hard. And I think the interesting thing about this too is, like, when you have a vision that you're dedicated to, right? One, you're gonna easier to say yes and no to stuff, way easier. But two, you're not going to give up on that, like, you're not going to walk away. You're not going to leave. You're not just gonna let the failures sort of just happen. You won't let that occur. Like, even in the worst case scenarios, and these are the people that really inspire us, it's like, wow, like, they went through all of that, but somehow they're still getting to the other side, and it's like, how did they do that? That resilience, everything, that dedication. It's like, well, that was the true vision, right? Like, that was actually the true vision. I think, like, Elon Musk is an interesting human. We get to see so much publicly from him. And I think what's been really interesting is we've kind of watched him get into politics in the past couple of years. But have you noticed he hasn't done well in politics? And when he gets too deep into it, what happens? We watch him get slammed by the public, and then all of a sudden the stock's going down and people are rejecting his cars and all this stuff. But have we really seen him do and put in the same amount of effort to overcome that in politics as we have seen him do that in getting to space? Absolutely not. And so we're seeing a different level of dedication in politics than we are in his actual, like, space companies, tech companies, his businesses. That shows us that when he's trying to do the politics, maybe he'll do it in the future, but right now it's off track. It's genuinely off track because he's getting the feedback from the outside and he's not able to overcome it. And it's not that he can't overcome it. We've seen this man overcome great things. It's that he doesn't want to. But we also see that it's pushing him back into the business and back into doing what he loves, back into his real vision and purpose. And so that's the thing, is, like, really pay attention. There are things in your life that you've encountered insane challenges, and you guys have gotten to the other side of it. That's connected to the long-term vision. Those are all the bits and pieces. The things that you just give up on are like, whatever, I don't care. Not important enough to you. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. 100%. And so we really need to stay aligned with the vision. That's how we know we're heading in the right direction. And sure, when even if we come up against tough times and it might be hard to navigate a little bit. Well, that's when what I've found works for me is surrounding myself with wise counsel and people who've already done what I want to do or been where I want to be, or, have, just a strong relationship with the Lord and can pray with me, those sorts of things. Surrounding myself with the right people and getting wise counsel to help navigate these different challenges truly helps stay on the right path and keep us moving in the right direction. And so that would be my advice as well, to anyone who is questioning about whether or not they're growing in the right direction, there's wisdom in counsel. So I strongly recommend that as well. And the Carly, and that's what you do. This is your business. You provide that wise counsel that is so needed. So as people are thinking about leadership and resetting, so maybe they went down the wrong path and they need to reset. What does a leadership reset look like in real life?
Yeah, so leadership reset in real life really genuinely just looks like, I'll sit down and I'll connect with someone. I'll be asking them questions. I listen to all the shoulds and the have tos. We start to do any work and clear those subordinations of the perceived authorities that they need to or should do it this way. And we really find the core of what they would really love and want. And it's usually not that far off from what you've already created. It's usually not that far off. Sometimes it's like a whole life reset and it's like, whoa, that was crazy. But most of the time, it's not that far off. And then just going in and reframing the strategies and the systems to align with that dynamic and making sure they're holding themselves accountable to pursuing that on a daily basis, making sure that happens. So it usually takes a little bit to pull it out, but then after that, it's the maintenance. It becomes a maintenance project and making sure we're tracking it. And we actually have metrics on what that's going to look like. So we can make sure it's actually coming to life, like in the most inspiring way, because this is that thing. It's just everyone on this planet has that. And I don't think anyone doesn't deserve not to have those experiences. No matter what you perceive you've done or not done, you're worthy of living your own inspired life. And so just putting that time and energy into making sure you understand what you're resetting to, making sure you get rid of all the shoulds, the have tos, connect with the wants, the love tos, the desires to, and then we put in the strategies, systems in place and track it. You want to make sure you're tracking it. If you're not tracking it, it's very nebulous, but when you get to actually track it, like you actually see evidence of it coming alive and you pay attention to it and you're like, whoa, it's working. It's super cool.
Exactly. So those metrics and milestones and KPIs and things like that you put in place to make sure that you're staying on track. Because what do they say? What gets measured gets tracked gets measured or something, or what gets measured gets tracked or something like that. But it's so important to see, what is your baseline? Where are you starting? How do you even know you're making progress? Because you have these milestones that you're tracking to see, oh yeah, last year we were at this and today we're at this. We're doing something right. Figure out what that is and keep doing it, and continue to grow in the right way, in the right direction, building the best team who share your values and those sorts of things, who can get behind your vision and continue to perpetrate that throughout the culture, no matter who comes on board and steps in new to, join the team and that sort of thing, kind of acclimate them to what it is and how they need to, and encourage them to get behind the collective vision that everyone now shares, because there is clarity of where it is that you all are going together. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how can business owners lead with clarity instead of stress? Further to that clarity.
Yeah. So definitely, here's the thing. You're going to be stressed out no matter what. No matter what.
I rebuke that. Hold on. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
But we have two types of stress, right? So here's the thing. We have eustress and distress. Distress is going to be the thing that causes burnout, right? Eustress is the thing that inspires you. So it's like the first time I was on the first time I spoke, man, holy crap, was that stressful. Like, I had never done it before. And they're like, do you want to come? There's this like festival in the neighborhood and I think you'd be a great speaker. And I'm like, oh my God, how many people are there? And I'm going up on a stage. I was so crazy nervous. You have no idea. But simultaneously, that was an inspiring stress, right? Because that's something that I loved. It wasn't distressful. And so when we lead with clarity, we actually have the opportunity to have more eustress, which if you look this up, do some research. Scientifically, it's actually shown to be good for your health because you're overcoming things that are inspiring to you. You're pushing yourself and you're pushing your own boundaries. Like in that moment, I got to experience a part of myself I didn't know existed. And I was like, that was stressful, but this is cool. I want to get better at this. I was like, whoa, that was like amazing. And you get off and you're like, how'd I do? You know?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you're calling it eustress as opposed
to
stress.
Yes, eustress. And if you look it up, they have so much scientific like research on this.
Y-O-U?
E-U-S-T-R-E-S-S. Yeah. Eustress.
Stress. E-U.
And that's actually healthy stress. And this is like when we're in alignment and we have clarity and we're going in that direction, like that becomes something that fuels you, right? And this is cool because like I know when everyone has experienced this, you're doing something you love so much and then all of a sudden you're like, did I eat? I didn't eat. Oh my gosh. I'm like,
all the time.
Because it's stressful, but you're so engaged that it's like, that's eustress, right? And so that's beneficial. You're so inspired. You're like, I don't think I even ate. Like, yeah, which is kind of amazing. And you're like, but my body is just going and going because that's what we have inside of us. We have this like almost unending like energy source. And when you tap into something inspiring, even if it has stress around it, but it's inspiring, you tap into eustress. But that comes with clarity, because if you don't have the clarity, you'll be doing the shoulds and the have tos, all the things that drive distress and burnout. Yeah. Right. So like, but by the way, that's where the fun is at. That's the fun stress.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I am all for eustress. I didn't even, I lived that and I didn't even know there was a word for it. So thank you for sharing that word eustress is good stress. And it's that gives you the excitement, even though it's like when you are faced with an opportunity to do something like public speaking and it's scary as all get out, but you get up there, you feel the fear, you do it anyway, scared.
Yes.
And then when you get done, you're like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah. Even though it's stressful, that's our eustress.
Eustress. Oh my word. I'm so excited that I learned a new word today. Like, honestly. This has been so amazing, Carly. Oh my gosh, this has been so great. So in closing, we definitely want to give people an opportunity to stay in touch with you, learn more about eustress as opposed to distress. No distress. We are all for eustress. What's one mindset shift that can change everything for a leader?
Yeah. Stop living by shoulds. Get connected to the want, love, choose, desire. Stop living by should, have to, need to, got to, ought to. It'll change your life. If every day you woke up and your day was scheduled around all the things that you would love to do as opposed to the shoulds, I guarantee you it would change your life. And I promise you can message me after a year and just be like, now I'm addicted. I'm like, sorry, not sorry.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. No more shoulds. No more shoulds. More I get to. I want to. It's exciting to get to do what we do and have the impact that we have. And so that's living. That's real, where the real joy is, and you just keep on getting blessed by being your true, authentic self, doing what you're called to do, living out your purpose. Truly, just nothing like it in this world. So, Carly, where can listeners find you after today's show?
Yeah, so they can head over to my website, which is westcoastgrowthadvisors.com. And actually, speaking of values, on the tools and tips section, there's a really fun values assessment, and then they can get a greater idea of like their own things that they love to do in just a more structured and specific way.
I love that. I love it. So I love the animation of the city. Yes, lead with purpose, execute with precision, build for legacy. Yes, absolutely. I am 100% for it. And if there's anyone in the audience who definitely wants to continue on this path, learning more, finding out how they can be their best selves, go to westcoastgrowthadvisors.com for sure. And I'm sure on all the other socials as well. Right?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yep, we have your LinkedIn here. Definitely connect on LinkedIn, Carly Pepin, for sure, and well as on all of the other socials, and Instagram, Facebook, Carly Pepin. So y'all, this has been so fun, so exciting, so informative and educational. I just am so thrilled that we get to talk about being strategic and systematizing how to lead and scale. And we can do it with eustress.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Carly. You've been an amazing guest. You are made for something great. So go and be awesome.